watching the Dog Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dog Show. Your hosts, Troop Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dog Show with Troop and Smooch, episode 170. Smooch,
170, bro.
That's getting close to 200.
So close.
And it's not been without a little turmoil and conflict as China hacked our Google accounts. And over the past 2 or 3 weeks, we have been trying to rectify that. Hope we do, because our numbers are reflected. It's been tough to find us. If you have been watching, then you are, as Smooch said in the pre-show, one of the elite Dog Show listeners.
Hey, we appreciate you for carrying us through the wilderness. But yeah, a few weeks ago, we got word that our account had been hacked. They got in there, changed everything to Chinese. China changed everything to Chinese, and we're using there's some sort of international advertising scheme where they set up a bunch of ads through other accounts, funnel them into one account, and then siphon money off that way. I don't know exactly how it works because that's not my thing, but we were one of them. And so if you've noticed, numbers have been down. Yeah, I have no idea how any of you found us over the last few weeks, but we greatly appreciate you for doing it. And hopefully we will sort of figure everything out and get back into this. I've been speaking with Google representatives over the last few weeks.
That sounds fun.
Oh, it's the only I know I'm frustrated talking to them, but they have to be frustrated talking to me because it's just a conversation I can't understand. And so the language barrier doesn't help either. And so, I already have a small bit of hearing loss from being a musician for so long. So you throw in an Indian accent on a Google rep, and I'm like, excuse me? It was just an hour of us not understanding each other every time. But here we are, back on the horse troop, Brenton.
Yep, and we did put out a Dogs After Dark. If you're hearing this and didn't know that, you need to pull that up with our last episode, Dogs After Dark, for our first edition of it, and went really well. We enjoyed it. Something we're going to do.
It was a good show.
We're going to do regularly. We did talk about a lot of different topics. Just check it out. I think you guys will enjoy it. Mm-hmm. There are some other news. Some news. It's off season, of course, as we approach March, and I think one of our last episodes we talked about, maybe it was on Dog Show After Dark, we talked about Kemon Spell, and the best running back in this next recruiting cycle, rated as the best, and a guy that's been compared favorably to Bijan Robinson, Todd Gurley, and that kind of a back.
We'll take 80% of either one of those guys.
We'll take that. But he's done something very rare.
Yes.
As he has shut down he's not going to take any more visits other than to Athens. And so he's saying he's not going to visit any of these coaches. They're going to try to get him and pull him, but he's going to just nip that right in the bud. Love to hear it. I don't know what kind. They might have offered him a financial incentive to do it. I don't know.
Like I was saying, I was reading the comments, but I'm not going to respond to them because that's not my place. It's not all about the money. Like I was seeing the comments, everybody saying I'm going to leave for money. That's not what plays a huge part in my recruitment. I want to go somewhere where I'm being loved and feel like at home. So, for all the fans out there, it's not about the money. I want to come to Georgia to win a national championship.
But as you just heard on the video we just played, he comes on. He speaks very clearly that money is not the center of everything he's thinking about. That he wants to come in and grow and develop, and the guy just has an honesty about him because we've been burned. I mean, every team gets burned with this type of thing, right? That's just the nature of the beast now in this wild west of college recruiting. But this guy really, Troop, I may get burned on this, but I believe him. I believe Spell's going to be a dog.
Well, that's part of it. When you recruit the best of the best, they are highly sought after by all schools. They're not hidden. And so you're going to take every school, or you're going to take some of the top schools in the country's best shot. That's why sometimes when you recruit the highest, most talented players, you're going to see some of them not make it to the end just because some of these schools just make that the centerpiece.
Right.
And as they're able to do that, whether it leads to success or not, it's another matter. But Georgia has also hired a few coaches. We did hire. You guys will like to hear some of these analysts. I know we've already heard about some of the off-field coaching staff with Robert Edwards coming home, and he left Washington County. He was coaching at Washington County High School the last few years, the Golden Hawks, and also Maurice Smith, who was part of Kirby Smart's original team at Georgia at 2016. He's coming back as another analyst, and these guys develop. Were they just trying to develop their trade, their skill? We've seen these analysts come in and then replace a position coach as they kind of integrated into the system.
Right. It is
on-the-job training.
That's exactly right. This is a pipeline that Kirby has created to hire from within, to prepare guys for not only if they want to head somewhere and take a job down the road, but to come up and really step up through the ranks at Georgia. I'm excited about both of them, especially Robert Edwards. That just feels like a really good fit.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see him come in. Who knows? Maybe even Terrence Edwards at some point. Terrence is doing a lot of coaching as well.
That wide receiver,
both Hall of Fame Georgia players. As a high school, they were both in the Georgia Hall of Fame for high school players. So, I think Robert Edwards just made it this past year.
Right.
We did lose some attrition with Duribe, the outside linebackers coach. Been here a few seasons now, and he is taking a job with the Cowboys to coach on their defensive staff, right, Smooch?
Yeah, he's going to be a defensive assistant, I think is what the Cowboys are calling it. But it's good for him. And that, if you know anything about Duribe, he is a relentless recruiter. And so that the job with the Cowboys will really kind of free him up there to really hone his craft in scheme and development. And, there is no recruiting for the most part in the NFL. And so it's good for him. Go on, kill it. Hopefully he'll be D coordinator there in another couple of years.
Well, they have replaced him. The Dawgs did hire an outside linebackers coach, Larry Knight, and he was previously at Arkansas State. He was there. He coached the same position, and plus the defensive or run coordinator, run defense coordinator as well. And a lot of people are excited about him. Well, I'm seeing it all over.
Yeah.
We're hearing people talk about it, and because I feel like just based on the past couple of years, especially this past season, people are pointing the finger at one thing that they feel was subpar. And that was Georgia's sack numbers. And that Georgia only had like 20 sacks this past year, and it's just it's when you're trying to find something to like a scapegoat, and in terms of what the reason is, Georgia hasn't. Their defense was good last year, but the sack numbers were not up to par with what we were used to seeing. And we'll look at some of those numbers. Last year they had 20. In 2024, Georgia had 37 sacks as a team. 2023, 30 sacks. 2022, 35 as a national championship team. And then, of course, in 2021, that was the 49 sack season where Georgia was absolutely loaded to the gill with NFL talent, seasoned NFL talent at that. The COVID year, well, it's kind of tough to look at that and really know what you're looking at. 24 sacks for that season, but it was a COVID year. And then the year before, 2019, Georgia had 31 sacks, so right in there, 30 range. You can extrapolate from that what it is. But it's Larry Knight did with Arkansas State. He had signed a coach with, I think, West Virginia. That's right. And before he even coached a game there, got offered by Georgia or interviewed for that position. But he coached a team that I think had like 39 sacks last year. Is that right?
That's right.
And so one of the top sack teams in the country. They did a good job of getting to the quarterback.
Look, and first of all, let's say before we go any further, we're excited about Larry Knight coming. We're excited. If Kirby says this is a guy from outside our program altogether, and we need him here, that's a guy that you know two things about. You know he knows ball and he knows how to recruit. period. And so if Kirby's bringing this guy in, that's a great stamp of approval. So we're all about Larry Knight. The excitement over him, though, I would compare to bringing in a new coordinator, an offensive defensive coordinator, the type of coverage that this seems to be getting, like this fix-all. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but the fix-all is going to come when all these sophomores become juniors. You start to see a lot of things get, quote, fixed when that happens. You know, before the season last year, we said, what is the number one Achilles heel of this team going into 2025? And we both said youth. They're not youth anymore. That's where you're going to see it. But Larry Knight has come in with more pomp and circumstance and celebration than any outside linebacker coach hire in Georgia history. So
yeah, I don't want to tell you guys to pump the brakes. Like, I think they went through an extensive process to hire this guy, and there were lots of interest. I read about the interest, and so that was not an issue. They got who they wanted, and a guy who has got a resume for doing just what Georgia wants. But the other side of that, because we listen to other Georgia podcasts and hear other people's opinions, read as much as possible. The other side of that is trying to figure out why Georgia struggled to record sack numbers. Let's just call it the sack statistic. Georgia has struggled in the past, especially last year. The year before, 37 sacks is not bad at all. The year before, where they had Jalen Walker and Michael Williams, Chaz Chambliss was there as well. But as we try to identify why that was, it feels like, without saying it, some broadcasters, maybe some really, really high-level Georgia podcasters, podcasters, are seem to be, without saying it was coaching. It's coaching. It's coaching.
Yeah.
And even some of their guests are saying they're not saying, hey, our coaches suck, but they are inferring that we didn't coach them up, and so now this new coach is going to come in and he's got a great chance to fix the problem, because it's a sexy stat. No, sacks are a sexy stat, and they asked Kirby about it over and over. But as we kind of look at it and ask the question, was it a coaching issue? And even one of these other podcasters was harping on it. Well, it's got to be coaching because he didn't say that, but he's inferring it because apparently we don't teach our edge rushers two moves.
Completely obliterated.
Have maybe one move, and if you teach them two moves, then he got something. Yeah. This next guy's going to come in and teach him minimum two moves to get past by the offensive line. So hey, we got it. We figured that one out real quick.
Right. This guy's going to provide a 50% upgrade in pass rush moves, and so you'll see pass rush and sack numbers skyrocket. Listen. I'm sure Larry Knight's a good coach because Kirby brought him in. I'm sure he's a good coach. However, there is no such thing as an outside linebacker coach fix-all to poor sack numbers. Poor sack numbers happen for a number of reasons, and it's not I think you put your finger on the point, Troop, when you're talking about the elite podcast cognoscenti, the guys that probably don't know who we even are. Those guys. I'm just kidding. They all watch.
They do.
We know that for a fact. We love seeing our segments redone on your show. That's awesome. But when you hear that, there are by de facto pointing to coaching, acting as though, Kirby's not really concerned with getting sacks. No, Kirby has the correct understanding of the impact that sacks have on a game. It's a sexy stat. We love to rank players by it, but the idea in Kirby's system has been and always will be disrupt the quarterback, not necessarily get sacks. And in a two-gap scheme like Georgia runs, you're never going to see 50 sacks in a season. And one coach at the outside linebacker position is not going to make a difference. That being said, I expect a huge jump in sacks because you got all these players stepping into the money
There's
year.
some other
of college
factors,
football.
right?
Yeah.
Other factors.
So many factors.
I just don't like them. It feels like they're calling Deribe garbage, who just got a promotion to the NFL.
Right.
And you got Trey Scott right there, Glenn Schumann. Come on. We got some coaches there that know ball. And to say that they can't teach these guys 1-2 moves, and that's the problem, And now Larry Knight's going to come in here, and I hope he does, but it's going to be other factors. I don't think it's that simple in black and white. And so to hear these podcasters just harp on it every show and just jump up and down on it. Well, sacks. Now we got a coach coming in who's a sack specialist. I mean, maybe that's his thing, but let's look at other factors as well. I know this may irritate some of you fans, but that's just me. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Right.
That's just the way it's going to be.
Well, let me say one thing before you dive in here. Fans, number one, this is an emotional reaction to watching Trinidad Chambliss run around the field and make plays against Georgia in the game Georgia lost. That is where this – if Georgia beats Ole Miss in that game, we're not celebrating this higher the way we're celebrating it right now. This is an emotional reaction. Number two, Troop Brinson, fans, especially the more casual fans, are obsessed with wide receiver numbers and sack totals. Those things mean to some people as much or more than even national championships do. And it's just like you said earlier, a sexy stat, but it can be extremely overvalued. And I really think some of these other podcasts, it's just clickbait feeding in. Oh, we're going to have elite sack numbers now because we're going to be learning more things. Anyway, go dive in for us.
It's making me question some football knowledge with some of these guys. They sound more like casual fans than I would expect them to. I'm like, is that really?
It's like they're catering to the casual, right?
Or just getting hung up on it. Okay, what could be some other reasons? And my main take is that it's personnel. If you look at who Georgia had on the edges last year, Quinn Johnson and Gabe Harris, and no, not seasoned veterans. They'll be this year, but just not the twitchy kind of guys who are going to win those one-on-one battles, especially in that two-gap scheme. They're just going to do their job. And if quarterback holds the ball, they'll collapse the pocket. They've shown you that. But that didn't happen a lot last year. Even Kirby said that, what are you going to do when they're getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds? What are you going to do? Sometimes you just face quarterbacks who are really good at that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to tip your cap. But those Quinn and Gabe Harris aren't prototypical guys who are going to get a lot of sacks. That doesn't mean they can't have a good defense and do their job, do what Kirby asked them to do. You saw when they put Zayden Walker in there later in the season, and then also Quinn and Gabe got a little more experience. They started putting the sack totals together. It started to happen organically, and but it's a totality of your defense. Also, in terms of personnel, what kind of defensive backs was Georgia running with? You had a very young secondary early in the season. They got better, and after they were more dependent on, and Georgia had some faith in them, you saw some sack numbers start to get going a little bit. But you're not going to put them at risk. And so a lot of times, Smooch, if you're playing with a young secondary and they're giving their wide receiver some cushion, they're running some zone, they're going to give you a lot of easy access throws. Yeah. What is that? We saw that. It drove us crazy early in the season, but that's what happens when you have a young secondary. It was easy access throws. Quarterbacks get them out quick. And so you're not going to have elevated sack numbers because of that. And if you're not winning a lot of one-on-one battles.
That's right.
Huge to me.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that Ellis Robinson, who at one point last season people were saying, is this guy really a 5-star prospect?
And when he jumped on the pile for that personal foul, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. Done with this. And then we saw when the defense started playing well, we saw disruption of the quarterback, which Kirby values above sack numbers. Disruption of the quarterback, and then we see Ellis Robinson, 4 interceptions. All of those were on balls that a quarterback was off platform when he threw the ball. And we saw those types of things. That's a turnover that's much better than a sack. That is what Kirby is after. But like you said, the factors from linebacker play to we've got to be dominant in the middle, and we weren't last year. Simple as that. When you've got Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis just collapsing the middle, it's amazing how all these concerns over sack numbers just melt away, right?
Yeah.
All these factors pouring in. It is not because a linebacker is one move short of getting you a sack and the defense being elite. And look,
2 moves,
man.
Can't stop it.
And I got tired of watching watching Georgia players look like children facing an adult at Thanksgiving trying to chase around Trinidad Chambliss in that game. I got tired of it too, but it never crossed my mind that is some sort of coaching deficiency we have that now is all better. Yeah, age and experience fixes a lot of error.
Yeah, it does, and we like we like sacks. We like the pass rush. It gets us excited. Second down and 17 looks really nice, and you create turnovers. We're not saying don't do that,
right?
But based on the way Kirby Smart runs his defense, he values run defense as well, and so he's not going to put you at risk. He's not going to put his team at risk. He's not going to send the house very often just to to put his secondary at risk. He just won't, and he's not running a lot of stunts. He's not rushing upfield past the quarterback to give all the stunts and the rushing past the quarterback, running lanes everywhere. If you want to stop the run, you've got to create a wall right there, and sometimes at the expense of getting sacks, unless you just beat your man one-on-one and you just blow right through there. Then there's nothing they can do. But you see that a lot, Smooch, in the interior, and Georgia just didn't do a whole lot of that. And so it might be edge rushers, but with looking at the way Quinn and Gabe are built, they are not those prototypical twitchy guys that are going to just blow right by. So that was the personnel and that's play into your team's strengths.
Right. And by the end of the season, they most certainly were playing to their strengths. I mean, by the end of the season, that was a good defense.
And so he's playing to what this personnel and his team strengths. They're not going to get a lot of sacks, but they are going to stop you from running the ball. And I just don't think it was because of Deribe. Now, I don't. And Larry Knight could be the best. He could be the best coach in terms of teaching sack moves, and there he is, and coached last year's team. And you might not see it manifest in terms of the statistics that everybody is jumping on and thinking that it's just different teams. And like I said, playing for Kirby Smart, he's not going to sacrifice any other level of defense just for a statistic. Obviously, he likes lost yardage plays, and we're not saying we don't like that. But let's just be accurate about what was going on last year and what's going on in the past and what the coaching staff is, and not that Deribe was coaching out on his own and he didn't have a lot of help. If he was lacking, he just, like I said, he just did get a promotion to the NFL. So.
Yeah, and he was not the defensive coordinator, people. The defensive coordinator Kirby sets the scheme. But the defensive coordinator, that's where your whole approach to the game. If you want a single gap, shoot the gap, hair on fire after the quarterback on every play defense, that's just not going to happen while Kirby Smart's here. He has an entirely different mindset when it comes to defense. And it's dictated by personnel, and it's dictated by putting people in the best position for their skill set to be effective. The loss of Damon Wilson, that changed Georgia's prospects on defense significantly going into last season. But what do we mean when we talk about the youth of the team and what we expect this year? Think of the jump from 2020 to 2021 with this defense. There was an enormous jump, mainly because the defense just got a year older. And that is where we are going into this season. The portal had a very, relatively speaking, a minor effect on Georgia, on their defense. And so they are stepping into this season with guys taking a step up. And I expect all the numbers to be better, significantly better. My point is, it's probably not solely because Larry Knight is teaching an extra pass rush move.
Yeah, now if he's an upgrade and that is his special skill, that's great because it's going to go right along with having a very, very talented secondary who can cover and make quarterbacks hold the ball longer. And you got, I expect to see Elijah Griffin be maybe that game wrecker in the middle and start to open some things up for the pass rush. And some of those young freshmen that we expect to see a lot of. You had Zayden Walker, who did start to show up. You had in Kemon, who he's that kind of dude too. Chase Linton, they'll be sophomore. They'll be second year on campus, maybe not legitimately sophomore, but second year on campus. Elijah Gibson, it's Gibson, yeah. Isaiah Gibson. Another one of the top recruits in the country. Those guys will be on campus now for their second year. And you'll be able to see some of those guys start flashing and be able to use that way. And I do anticipate that Quinn Johnson and Gabe Harris are going to have good seasons, and Georgia will use that to create that wall, but I'll also get some more pressure on quarterbacks, but maybe not just from them, unless Larry Knight is able to teach them that second pass rush move. Then the numbers are going to be back up there in the 40s. So
yeah, in Georgia's scheme, and I'm not saying in every scheme, so don't hear me wrong. In Georgia's scheme, sacks happen when the middle in the trenches is collapsed. It's just that simple. So if you want to point, what is the biggest? What's going to give Georgia more sacks this year? I think you nailed it. Elijah Griffin. Those type of players, guys that can just collapse, can take their guy, pick him up, and take him back to the quarterback. Those types of guys are the ones that create all of the rest of that, because you've got guys that run 4.4s and are 225 pounds on the outside. They're going to get there. And we saw the game we sat in the stands and watched Ty Simpson take Georgia apart for 4 quarters. We saw what happens when you do not get pressure in the middle, because they got none, and Ty Simpson looked like the best player in college football against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I agree. He looked great. That was something else.
He looked great.
Switching gears just a little bit. I've heard people talk about, I guess one of the players who has gotten the most preseason accolades is KJ Bolden. Mm-hmm. And I love KJ Bolden. He was one of those recruits that we felt like we had to have. But there's a but in there for me, Smooch, and this is definitely open for discussion. I think he's going to be a great third-year player, and he's getting a lot of pub maybe for preseason All-American type stuff.
Interesting.
And there's some reasons for that. But I've also heard him compared to Caleb Downs, and I don't really agree with that.
Sorry.
They're just different kind of players. Yeah. He's very integral in terms of what Georgia's defense does and what they I mean, if they don't have him, a lot of things can break down. So he's very important to our defense. But do you think he's the best? I've heard him called the best defender on Georgia's defense. Do you agree with that? Do you think he's going to be like that alpha number 1 defender after the next season?
We've seen it happen before, where I think that prediction is based more off skill set than on the field play. His skill set is off the charts, and his skill set does rival Caleb Downs. The difference is Caleb Downs was making a significant impact in the game as a freshman, sophomore, and junior. And as a matter of fact, Caleb Downs, if I'm drafting in the NFL this year, that's the first overall pick in the draft is Caleb Downs. Bar none, that's my guy, because you could build a defense around him like you saw done with like Troy Polamalu, whatever, that guy. You know what I'm talking about, the guy with the amazing hair. He's got that kind of understanding of the game. Could KJ Bolden take that huge step this year? Yeah, we saw it. We saw Scene take a huge jump from the year before and the final year at Georgia. We saw him take a huge jump and become this absolute terror in the middle. I think KJ Bolden can, but play on the field, he has not. He has been a very good player at Georgia. Yeah. Very good. He has not displayed regular greatness. And I think when you're talking about preseason All-American, that would be like a player like a Roquan going into his final season that you would say that about.
It's got to be just because he was so highly recruited and he started his first 2 seasons. I mean, he was a freshman starter, and so they just kind of naturally move on to that. He's that guy that had those high school accolades, and just I think it's a leftover from the recruitment and how big of a get it was.
100%, 100%. You know, he was everybody's top. He was top defensive, everybody's top 5 DB coming out of high school. Came out. Some people even wanted to see him on offense, right? I mean, that was even part of his recruitment involved. Would he play both ways? Right. That type of skill set. And so I think so much of it is just the holdover from that. And like I say, you never know when players are going to blossom, and you never know when they're going to plateau. A player can blossom his freshman year and never really get that much better. And then you've got a player, this is offense, but a player like James Cook that hit his prime this season in the NFL. He has gotten better every single year he's ever played to where he led the NFL in rushing, you know. That type of thing. KJ Bolden just has to take one of those types of steps going into this season. But I'm not completely sold that this is he's a DGD, but a dominant Georgia player. I'm just not there yet with it. I think he's going to be the starter. He's probably the best we've got going into this, but he has not shown sustained elite play.
Right. Haven't seen it yet. And to his, I mean, he was playing, he and Dalen Everett were by far the most experienced players out there last year. And so that could have some effect, but we'll see. I think that he'll have also his best opportunity to be that player, but he hasn't proven it yet.
He's also an unquestioned leader going into this season, and we'll see how he responds.
Who would you say to if you had to just kind of in your mind look at this next year's defense? Who would you say the top two defenders? Who are the top two defenders after all is said and done this next year?
Defenders, period.
Yeah,
I'll tell you who we need them to be. We need the top two defenders to be Chris Cole and Elijah Griffin. That's
nailed it.
Yeah, that's what we need.
That's
if let me tell you this, if Chris Cole and Elijah Griffin take the step, guess who takes massive steps? Both of those
the whole
cornerbacks.
Secondary.
Yeah,
whole secondary.
Mello and Robinson suddenly are first round draft picks. If those two guys take that step, they make those guys exponentially better. And you'll start to see Mello and Ellis with, instead of just a pick six, if they're coming up and creating the havoc that Chris Cole and Elijah Griffin, those are the two best athletes on the team. And they probably, if they take the step this year, that sets everything else off. If Ellis Robinson has a elite season, it does not have the impact that if Elijah Griffin has an elite season. The trickle-down effect from the trenches is unimaginable when compared to the trickle-down from excellent play in the secondary.
Man, we didn't talk about this pre-show at all. Haven't even discussed it, but I had the same two players.
Really?
And I had both of those guys for the same reasons, because they definitely are those kind of alpha athletes at positions that are so key, so close to the football. Mm-hmm. And they can do so many things. I think Chris Cole's been asked to do a lot in the past couple of years, and it's maybe cut down some of his he's been doing so much that doing something just great, you haven't been able to see it, but he's been very, very important, and not to his detriment, but statistically. And but he could have, with more experience around him this year, he could have that huge third season. And I expect it.
Yeah, just to expand upon what you said without getting too deep in it, essentially Chris Cole played two positions last year. At the same time, he was responsible for so much. If these other players step up to where he only does what Chris Cole does on the field, you could see a marked jump. Not to mention, he's just going to get better because he's getting older. But he is already the most dangerous thing on Georgia's defense is Chris Cole. And I'm hoping you get to see it with some of the flashier numbers this year, or some of the scoop and scores, that type of thing.
Yeah. He's that kind of guy, and he'll be right next to other really good linebackers too, and Raylan Wilson coming in as undisputed leader there.
Yeah.
And Justin Williams as well, and Zayden Walker. Man, they got so many athletes on that defense. They recruited such a high level. That's just, Georgia has top 5, top 3, top 2, top 1, top recruiting classes every year. Mm-hmm. But we've mentioned this before. A lot of times it's just skewed towards defense. You get a lot of that because Georgia really hits it on defense, and they continue to do that. And we should see. I predicted before last season that you would see Georgia take a couple steps forward, and they struggled early in the year because of some of that youth, especially in the secondary, which is trickle-down stuff too when you have to really account for that and accommodate it. But then they started to play the way you expected them in the second half of the season. You saw a lot of what you anticipated, and we anticipate this next year. And that, just so many names and numbers. There's going to be players that have an opportunity to be stars that right now maybe in the 2 and 3 deep might not even be listed as starters.
Right.
They recruited that well. What about offense, Smooch? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you could very well see Georgia's sack leader from this season be a guy that comes off the bench that may not even, quote, start. There really is no such thing as starter in Kirby's system because there's about 14 players that make up his.
They like to rotate so much.
Yeah.
And so even Kirby's like, they got a third down pass rush team, but he said a lot of times offenses don't want Georgia to be able to switch out, and so they will go quick from second to third down. So Georgia can't rotate and put some of their pass rush specialists in there. So other teams know that. That's a common strategy around. Offensively, who would you say the two most important players? Who do you expect to have the biggest seasons next year offensively and most important?
Most important.
Maybe that's two different questions.
That's two different questions. In both answers, I would say Gunner. Gunner in both categories. I'd say Gunner.
Gunner Stockton. He's not a quarterback. We're waiting for Puglisi.
Yeah. Let me tell you, the kid coming in that knows the team and that knows the scheme, knows the team, and the team loves him. I'll take that guy anytime. I think that it's time to put all the eggs in the Gunner Stockton basket. I don't want to see him protected this year. I mean, protected by his offensive line, yes. Protected by the coaches, no. Let's sink or swim with the skill set of Gunner Stockton this season, and just go for it. And just as there were people not wanting to see Stetson Bennett come back for 2022, let's not forget there were people that did not want to see just ride off into the sunset. You won a natty, and the best for Stetson was yet to come. That's where we need to be with Gunner this year. I think we will be if he doesn't get a concussion in the first 4 weeks of the season.
But somebody who's died in the wool, diehard Georgia guy like he is, like Stetson was, man, he's not gonna leave anything undone. He's going to address whatever he thinks he needs to do to get better. Having that full season under your belt and be able to look back and say, this is where I need to improve, and then focusing on it. That's what I'm sure that's what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's already doing that. He was doing that probably a week after the season ended.
And then I'm going to go for the second one. I'm going to take a bit of a chance here. This is somebody we need to be one of our best players. Elias.
Before you say it.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I said it. Elias Williams. What were you going to say?
Okay. I thought you were going to go with Talon Taylor.
Yeah. That would have been the next one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but you want to see that freak at tight end just be utilized, because you're right. Because if Stockton could use him as a go-to receiver, and Georgia has some tight ends that could just be receivers. Prothrow, Barbour, they could both just be receivers, big receivers.
Yeah.
But if they start to use that the little back shoulder throw, little high point, just get it to him anytime he's in single coverage. Just get the ball to Elias Williams. There's nobody athletically who can stay with him or cover him.
Well, I'll tell you this: if the quarterback was Puglisi, I would have said Talon Taylor. But if I'm looking at Gunner Stockton's game, it's having that tight end security blanket. And Gunner's going to do things a little different, a little non-conventional. And when you do that, you look at the players. You can look at the NFL. The players that are a bit non-conventional, they have to have that bell cow tight end that they know, get the ball in the vicinity of that guy, and he'll make the catch for you and turn those 3rd and 4s into first downs, and the drive keeps going. But, man, I watched Talon running some routes on air earlier this week. Somebody posted it on TikTok or something like that. Talon's ready. He's ready. I expect him to hit the ground running this year.
Well, I think that Georgia tailored this past year's offense to what we anticipated it would be with Gunner Stockton, and now they have a lot more data and evidence to kind of even more fine tune what he does well, what he doesn't do well, and not necessarily just to reinvent the wheel, but just accentuate what they know now. And they know what he might have some limitations that they're just going to say, well, that's just he doesn't do it well. We won't focus on. We're not going to keep running our heads against a wall. I mean, maybe Gunner will, but maybe we'll utilize what he does really well. But so I was going to say that neither of those players were my number two. Gunner Stockton was my number one. My number two, because I think of the way this team is built, is Nate Frazier. Still think it's Nate Frazier.
Yeah.
Because they're going to run the ball. Georgia is going to run the ball this year. They do have a young wide receiver core that may, as the season progresses, I think you'll get some rapport and you'll get some guys that they count on and they know what they're going to get from them that kind of establish themselves, but they really haven't. I mean, there's You look at Sokovie White-Hilton, you look at Talon Taylor, CJ Wiley. Those guys haven't established anything yet, but they'll have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But even just knowing this team and what his team's built, Georgia's gonna the trenches are gonna tell you how well this team does offensively and defensively.
And we watched Nate Frazier learn how to be an elite running back in the season last year. You know, he was not elite to start the season. He was elite to finish it. He darn sure was. And we watched that development last year. If he can just stay healthy, could be a fabulous season for him.
So with him and Gunner, if they are playing high level football, it's going to make it a lot easier on those wide receivers as well. So you'll see things just like it's complementary football. That's just the way Georgia plays and the way a lot of teams want to play. But Georgia's has won championships playing that style of football. There was games back. Everybody looks back and says, "Well, Brock Bowers is," and he is a one-of-one type player. There was games where he had 2 and 3 catches, and throughout the season, and then I was like, man, there's nobody like him. Why are we not feeding him the ball? Why is he not getting 10, 12 targets a game? And if he gets 10, 12 targets a game, he's going to have 8 or 9 catches at least.
Right.
And but they just don't play that way. Georgia doesn't want to be very predictable in those situations, and they prove successful by it. They don't use the go-to receiver where they're just going to feed them the ball. I mean, I guess Zach Branch was the closest thing you saw to that, but only in certain plays. They really didn't try to attack the different parts of the field with him very often at all.
No, he filled the role of the tight end last year. That's what those wide receiver screens to him were. That's a wide receiver. That's the equivalent of a tight end drag or a quick pass out to a tight end. They used him for that role. Just put the ball in his hands and let him turn a 2-yard gain into an 8-yard gain, and let's go. And the one thing I love about the great Georgia teams, there's always a selfless guy on the field that does all the dirty work, like a London Humphreys comes to mind on this team, of just a guy that is not out there for stats and numbers, just does his job, and if you ignore him, he can take the top off the defense like that. And those guys complementing these other more flashy players, that is usually what sets up for a successful recipe. And I don't know how the coaches do it in Athens, but how they keep putting elite athletes that are not stat chasers on the field, it's impressive, especially on offense. I know they watch their brothers get drafted in the first round, second round of the NFL, and they're like, okay, so this works. But wide receivers want the ball. That's one of the things they do, and they don't get it like that. There is no focal point in a Georgia offense.
And that's why this past, I guess the 2 years ago now, will be 2 years, I guess it was last year, the last recruiting cycle with Talon Taylor and CJ Wiley. That's why that was such a good group.
Yeah.
Because Georgia struggles to get those high-end receivers to stay in the fold and get them to campus because they can't point to all these other teams can negatively recruit you. And there's a lot of good teams out there that have a legacy of high-name wide receivers. And so to have that group, you really want to capitalize on and hope they will. There's a couple other names in there too that Georgia's going to have an opportunity to play. And it just depends on how they practice and how they come along. The second year is always huge. They're physically going to be much more ready.
Absolutely. And this is with Talon Taylor, you've got the best overall receiving prospect since George Pickens. It's just a matter of putting it together. He certainly seems to have the mental makeup to do it. And, he got back on the field. He managed to work his way back after a lot of players that dropped that ball that he dropped against Alabama and then immediately get injured, you never hear from them again. I mean, that type of thing really does happen. And so we started hearing we don't understand what we've got in Talon Taylor before the season even started last year, with a couple of our guys that had gotten into some practices like this guy is elite. And so really eager to see him do his thing. And just as soon as he gets some confidence and comfort, when you're trying to cover, You're trying to make sure you got a read option they're running with Nate and Gunner. You're trying to cover that with everything you've got. You've got Elias Williams standing up, going over the middle. And then you've got Talon Taylor out there. That sounds like on paper a really
sounds like something.
It sounds like something. Yeah.
Y'all, Smooch is fighting through it this week. He's got.
Yeah.
You hear his voice. A little flu issues going around town.
Yeah, listen to this, man. I got the voice I've always wanted. I sound like Troop Benson now. I got sexy radio tones.
Easy.
Yeah, man.
Which is all we got the best voices, I think. Smooch has got that good gravelly voice. He's developed it over time.
Yeah, it's like wearing out a pair of blue jeans, man. I screamed on stage for 12 years, 5 times a week. So yeah,
I still don't know how. Just I know it took some effort in our intro. That is Smooch's voice, by the way.
Yeah.
Smooch had to hit some of those his voices he used to pull out regularly back in the day.
I will tell you this: when I recorded that dog show intro, it was not one take. I had to do it a few times, and then you've got to. So you stack vocals when you do something like that, because that's kind of a throwback to '80s stuff, and so that has stacked vocals. That means you have to sing it 4 times, right? And so I did not get it in 4 tries. Let's put it that way. It took a little time because I do not use pitch correction, people. I believe that is of the devil. There is no auto tune in a Smooch and Troop production.
No auto tune. No auto tune here, baby. Me neither.
No, you got radio tones, overtones in your voice.
Hey. Well, folks, I want to suggest that you check out our Dog Show After Dark. We're going to do that a couple times a month.
Yeah.
We got so many topics. We think you guys need to know about it. A lot of entertainment left on the table. There is. We talk just basically straight football. We do it intentionally. Mm-hmm. A lot of topics. And me and Smooch have ran a couple other podcasts in the past where we covered some stuff like that was interesting, but lots of stuff we can off of football. So.
Yeah, fun fact, at one point, Troop Brinson and I had the #1 podcast in all of wiffle ball. That is an actual true statement. Wiffle ball, #1 podcast in wiffle ball.
That's right. Good stuff. So, check that out and let us know what you think about it. It'll get some more traction now that we've hopefully corrected our China problem with our Google accounts, and you guys are going to get
going straight to the top. We're going. It's going to Trump next.
Congratulations again to Larry Knight, new Georgia coach, and as well as Robert Edwards and Mo Smith.
Come on.
There's some other guys in there too. Maybe not names that we recognize just yet. They'll be off the field coaches, but. Happy to see that, and we didn't mention any of our legal issues right now. We saw with some reckless driving and speeding with Chris Cole and in Kenning Bond, just driving too fast again on that perimeter. It sounds like, but we don't harp on those things. We know Kirby will sort it out. Those aren't guys who've been any kind of issues whatsoever in their career. So
yeah,
that's all I'll say about that.
At the very least, they'll just come in better condition this season. He's gonna run
definitely will come in better condition. So hopefully they got those hamstrings and those Achilles stretched out because you're gonna need it.
You're gonna need it.
All right, folks. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.
Completely obliterated